welcome to a very, very special presentation and podcast with the lovely Dr. Ahmed. I've been really excited to get to this one. As you know, we've been on this journey for Farmsent for quite a while, and I feel like it's difficult for you guys to see the amount of action that's happening in the background. So we decided that we'd bring on one of the legends from our team. So Dr. Ahmed, welcome to this podcast, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Sam, and it's an honor to be here with you as well.
Thank you, sir. I'm so honored that it's an honor to be here with me. It always feels great. So I know a lot of people may not know who you are because the teams are so sparse and big, and you've done so much. So if you can please give an introduction of yourself, your work, what you've been up to lately.
Well, it seems like a short question, but the answer is really long as well. Well, so my name is Ahmed Kazai. I'm a Bahraini resident, yet I started traveling the world ever since I finished college. So I studied in Germany, I studied in Scotland, and I got my PhD from University of Osaka in Japan. I started off in banking, and that's how I got to meet Srishti in the first place. That was 25 years ago, believe it or not. I feel 50 myself, so from there my real journey really started. I mean, ever since then I found my true calling was not in having a 7 to 7-11 kind of job.
Yeah.
So I started my own firm, which was in general consultancy, but in 2010, the real thing happened. I transformed it into a political consultancy firm in Washington, D.C. It was not, still is not, the thing that people would say, you know what, I would like to grow up and be a political consultant. You never hear that.
Yeah.
So it became my niche, it became my thing. I fostered it, I built it brick by brick from day one. And ever since, it got me on the map and where I am today. Step by step, I started working for small-time politicians in the US, reaching up to work for the late John McCain for 4 years. And that taught me everything I really wanted to know. How to calm down, not to rush into anything in the first place, and then to move on forward from there. From there, I got introduced to a friend of mine, became a friend later, who said, I would like you to work with us. And I was like, sure, bring it on. Who's us?
Yeah.
And then he set up a meeting with his boss, and apparently that was Barack Obama.
Okay, that's a surprise. Yeah.
Friend, right?
Yeah.
That was in 2012. And from there, I became the go-to guy to talk about the Middle East, Middle Eastern policy, especially the Gulf states. And I started teaching at universities as a visiting professor, give speeches, started writing more and more. So I started pursuing my passion. And ever since, I started working for A-level politicians around the world, but mostly in the US. Of course, I mean, what the big news was when Trump won is that, you worked for him. Of course, it doesn't work that way. You don't work for the president directly, especially I'm not local. Yeah. But yes, I did work for such politicians all throughout the years. And I do appear on many news channels and get interviewed by people like you. I have a free opinion columns around, basically newspapers around the world. So I am the typical geek today. That's what Mike is called.
I love it. Well, it's a pleasure to have such a typical geek, in this Geek Fest. So actually, I'm so interested in that. Like, clearly, it's not like you work for Trump or you work for Obama. There's a collaborative kind of aspect to it. But how does that even work? Right? Because clearly when they want to access something like a place like the Middle East, they don't understand it. How does it work? That they have some projects or some issue and they bring you on as an advisor? Like, just take me through a journey of what that looks like.
Sometimes it's as mundane, as small as giving a speech. Okay. So any politician around the world, when they give a speech, they have people writing it for them.
Right.
From there, they pass it on to their advisors. So any speech, by definition, might piss people off, a group of
Right.
people, and will make the other group happy by nature.
Especially in
So,
the Middle East. Yeah.
especially in the Middle East.
Yeah.
You remind me of a skit by Russell Peters with
Which ones?
angry people.
Somebody gonna get hurt real
Many
bad?
of them. Many of them. Our people always know it all. They never say, no, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Exactly. I love it.
So basically, they run it by us and ask, who is this pissing off and how can we fix it if they want to? Because sometimes they really want to stimulate or piss people off.
Yeah.
Sometimes about the appearance. If I show up with my full suit and tie, would that make me look snobbish? Or how do I appear to be down to earth? So we advise on these things that we consider somehow small, to
Yeah.
the big things, to the big picture. Signing of a policy within Congress, within an executive order. How would this work for us? How would this, let's say, pinch this politician or give this country a hard time without pissing off the neighbors? It's a delicate balance that requires lots of consultants. For example, for the speech, we're talking at least a minimum of 15 consultants, because if you're talking about ideologies, you're talking about ethnicities within the United States itself. You're talking about Arabs, Muslims. These are two different ethnicities.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about Southeast Asians. You're talking about Hindus. You're talking about Christians. You're talking about hardcore Christians, hardcore Muslims. It's a big group. You can't please everybody at the same time.
Yeah, and then that's where that expertise, the nuance comes in, right? To be able to understand, okay, this is what you're trying to achieve, this is what impact it's going to have, and this is how to kind of find that
Yes.
perfect middle ground, right?
Exactly. And the political consultancy sphere in the United States is as organized as tailor shops here in the region. You have a lot of them. Everybody
Yeah.
specializes in one thing. This guy will make the best suits, but this guy will make the best women's suits. Or this guy will make shirts. This guy will make like dress shirts. So you have specialty houses. And that's how it works. So let's say this consultant, like won this kind of a consultancy contract, he can cover 90% of it. But the remaining 10%, we would go to other consultants who are better than us in it.
Amazing. So you are a bespoke creator of strategies and execution in this space. So
I like that. I like that. Bespoke,
You-
because I call it basically. Go ahead.
You know, you're like the Savile Row, you know, of consultancies. That's what we're going to say from now on.
Somehow I like that, bespoke, because normally, basically, we call it a small consultancy firm, but I like the bespoke part. I'll use it from now on.
Exactly. There we go. Happy to help. So speaking of bespoke consultancies, but also like a custom specific vision that is unique to the problems that are at hand. You know, I was reading what I'm calling the peace deal. I would love to hear what you call it, but I was reading the kind of the framework that you'd set out for creating stability in the Middle East, and I was genuinely shocked at how kind of bespoke it was, right? And how it focuses on all the different little aspects of it. So please take us through that, because that's a huge part of Farmsent, and I feel like people need to understand how much work is being done behind the works.
Wonderful. Before starting into that, any conflict in the world, when you work on the resolution, you have to look at certain aspects. Has it been tried before? Yes or no? If yes, you go a certain path. If no, you go a certain path. But when it comes to this certain conflict, for 76 years so far, there was the only way that was tried out was the way of war. So how about we try a new way? How about we try a different way? How about try to de-escalate things? It won't be easy. And I always put it ever since the signing of the accord, is that in order for us to do it, we have to start on a dating phase first. We don't know each other. And for example, if we're talking about the Gulf as a unique perspective here, we never engaged in a direct war with Israel. I'm not saying here it's going to be like a field of roses where we're just going to have coffee together. No. It's going to be much complicated than that, but somebody has to start. Again, I'm not talking from a naive point of view where which many people think it's that way. Instead of fighting, which the track record showed us that most, if not all, wars were lost
Mm-hmm.
from our side.
Mm-hmm.
So, how about we try a different path, a different way? We set up a table, we have coffee, we start talking, and then we take it one thing at a time. Our approach here, we're talking about something called people to people. Yes, governments, diplomats, presidents sign treaties. And that's the example we got between Jordan and Israel, Egypt and Israel, which is referred to as the Cold Peace Treaties.
Mm.
They were signed more than 50 years ago, but got nobody nowhere, especially with their citizens. Most of them are not allowed to travel, they can't go, they can't come, they can't deal. While with us in the Gulf here, I'm talking about Bahrain and Emirates,
Mm.
it's considered to be one piece so far because there are many sides who are trying. Again, we're not being naive here. It's a long process. It's not easy. But how can you fight somebody that you don't know or don't understand, and vice versa, from both ends? At the same time, how can you build peace when your only notion is war? So you have to find common grounds, build on that, and see where it goes. It's just trying different ways because the old ways never worked. So that's the whole concept in a nutshell.
I love that, and I especially love the people to people part of it. I feel like
Yes.
that should be obvious, right? That like if it's just world leaders sitting down and signing paperwork, that's not really how it's going to happen. You have to get down
Yeah.
into the lower layers, and if anything, create a holistic way of looking at it. So what does that mean? What does people to people mean? I know I saw stuff about like it was city to city. Like that's very intriguing.
It is. An example, we started a project that never saw the light because of October 7th.
Mm.
That's called Educators for Peace. So we tried to understand what kind of common grounds we have, all of us as human beings in the region, not just the region, actually, internationally. So we started studying the desert tech.
Mm.
It's farming technology made for deserts. Uh, Apparently, the best in this field today is Israel, especially the incubators, the technology centers within the southern parts of Israel and the Negev. Uh, they have lots of models, lots of ideas, lots of uh, newly established methods of how to do things. I even visited vineyards who have their own desert wine basically establishments. And
I'm
that's
so excited to drink desert wine. Like that is mind blowing, right?
we'll do it soon. We'll do it
Yeah.
soon. So they came up with this a solution for a huge problem, especially that lack of resources. And here I'm talking about food and water in principle is going to be the major issue or the major cause for a war in the near future,
Of
anywhere in the
course.
world.
Yeah.
Resources. So they have a solution. Yet, who is facing this problem? Most of the Middle East and the rest of the world for different reasons. Some people are facing drought. Some people are facing floods.
Mm.
So we need solutions. So we're focusing on the Abraham Accords countries. Here we're talking about Israel. We're talking about Bahrain. We're talking about Emirates. We're talking about Sudan, Morocco, and of course, overlooking all of that is the USA.
Mm.
So starting with Israel, ending up with San Diego, because San Diego is the sister city of a city in the Negev. I think it's called Shah Negev or something.
Mhm.
So, how about we put educators, researchers, professors, even students from these countries who are focusing on water, on deserts, on agriculture.
Mhm.
We have similar issues, drought. So, how about we sit together in different cohorts, of course, that's a program of 4 years, and then discuss it. We go to San Diego, we visit the facilities, the water reserve facilities, we visit officials, locals, farmers, and then as well academics to see what's the problem. How can we help in putting up a solution here? We move from there, we go to Morocco, we go to other countries. So instead of talking about war, talking about warfare, talking about weapons, talking about killing, talking about how about a certain or different group of people that has nothing to do with the above said issues, and start to put solutions instead of talking about problems that everybody's talking about. And from there, we see where it goes. That's why when Farmsent was introduced to me, I thought, like, this is exactly what we need, because this is completing the picture for me personally and for the rest of the world as well, because we have a missing part in all of what I'm saying today. We spoke about educators, professors, me coming from this background, that's what I thought about. Politicians, policymakers. What about the real people? What about the farmers? That's what Farmsent is doing, and that's why I said this is completing the circle.
That's just such a genius way of thinking about it, where it's like, let's not worry about the war and are we fighting or are we not. Let's look at the problems we're all facing together. Let's get our people together. And then when you break bread, then when you start talking about food and, or, understanding that we're going to feed all of our children, that whole idea of you, me, that all disappears, especially when you go to different places and do it all together. And I mean, just this idea
Yes.
of, the desert tech idea, it's it's a known fact that countries don't melt down until food stops reaching tables. People are very resilient, right? As long as people can feed their kids, they can put up with a lot. But the moment that
Yes.
happens, that's when problems happen. So if we can get together and start solving those core problems, especially with these kind of new technologies where you can grow grapes in the desert with humidity, water being fed from dehumidifiers and stuff. That is the future of stuff. And if there's these kind of like disagreements that are keeping this technology from being used while there are kids not being fed properly, that doesn't make sense. But I also love the idea that, like, FarmSend isn't just a marketplace that's connecting people together. It's like a hub that allows people to not look at the other side as the other, right? Because I think this idea of oneness has been lost in this whole thing, and that's why I would love to discuss more about the what did you mention, the Abrahamic Accord, I think it was called, right? Where, like,
Yes.
we are all one. All the religions are, we all pray to God, and we call them by different names, but yet we're
Exactly.
cousins, right? So I would love to hear more about that. I just love that concept.
To start with, we're not even cousins. We're one, as you mentioned earlier. We're one in humanity. What's the difference between a parent with three boys, raising them on proper values in Bahrain than in Colombia? From
Yeah.
Colombia to Malaysia, from Malaysia to Australia, we're all the same. We have certain basic needs. We all want security. We all want prosperity. And tell me that there's somebody in the world who does not.
Mm.
Back to your question, let me look at that from a different perspective. When I was introduced to Farmsent, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of ignorant to what blockchain is. I
Mm.
was somehow more ignorant on the crypto. Uh, the concept was vague to me. So what I did was I took your advice and I established an account where I started buying certain cryptos to understand the flow, how it goes. Then I understood a few aspects, especially that when the concept of Farmsent was established, we're helping the common man, the farmers. That's the
Mm.
start of it. We're establishing a blockchain of supply, of demand, of selling, of securing proper pricing, fair share for the farmers.
Mm.
Because once in any economic concept, once you secure the macro side of economy, you secure the full economy. Because economy is not based on the fancy stuff you see in big shopping malls. No,
Yeah.
it's what you see in the alleyways, the smaller people, the smaller income. But that's what economy is based on. So I like the concept and principle. So I started reading more. I started bugging you guys more every now and then. I have a question. I need to understand this. Well, how do we do that?
Mm.
That took me to a level where I'm convinced that I'm not just consulting for Farmsent. No, I'm part of the team.
Mhm.
It's not a project. It's a life mission.
Exactly.
So when I came aboard, I'm still learning. By the way, I don't say that I know it all,
You're doing
but
great. You get a
when
gold
it
star as a student. You're fantastic.
much needed for a geek like me. I started when we started talking about the Erwata, the upcoming summit, and then I was asked to present a paper. I started thinking, what are we giving to the world? What are we changing in this world to make it a better place? Because if we're not, what's the point of everything we're doing?
Yeah.
And then I started looking at it from this concept where we just spoke about. How about we talk about flourishing, helping, backing up the macroeconomy from what we're talking about, farmers? If we talk about this, how, as a model, can we create as Farmsent and then distribute it and then advocate for it, even preach for it? How can we develop something like that that will sell the idea from the smallest person to the biggest,
Hmm.
from the end user to the politician, from the policymakers to the buyer and seller on vegetable, basically, in farmers market on a Sunday?
Yeah.
How can we bring everybody on board? And that's how I started thinking. With every meeting we started having, I started taking notes. So I started having this concept of parallel, basically not competency, but let's call it mirroring. Let's say we take one of the examples of Farmsent today, and then we compare it to any state.
Hmm.
Yes, you have this much population. How much are you importing? How much are you exporting? How much poverty you have? How do we solve that? Where's the missing link? And then compare it to our model. I started seeing that this could be used by states. People who are trying to solve issues, but without expediting or without overusing the resources, because resources are important today and they
Hmm.
can't put all the resources in one basket. And from there, I started developing this kind of concept where I think it's beautiful. Even me, I'm learning along the way while I'm writing it. So it is a viable model that could be used properly, and it will benefit everybody because it will have what it will enforce something that we call small government. Not
Hmm.
a lot of intervention, not a lot of support. It's an autopilot kind of mode where governments could basically provide, and then from there, it's an autopilot kind of thing. It will
That
run on its own. It will provide on its own.
that's exactly it's almost like it's like blockchain represented in the real world, right? Where it's like, yeah,
Yes.
you have rules, you have laws that are set up that are preset, but beyond that, once it gets released to the people, it doesn't matter which creed, doesn't matter which color, you connect to it and you can all collaborate together in a way that's based around prosperity and coming together without having this kind of overarching, one government controlling their people a certain way, one government controlling their people a certain way. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had such success, which actually blows my mind. Like, it used to really blow my mind until I met you and everybody who's doing this stuff. Then I was like, okay, now I understand why we have such success in this whole process, because we have absolute genius geeks, like you would say, that are dedicated to this thing. But
Thank
but
you.
also the fact that when you talk to countries and you mention the word food security, they instantly perk up. Everybody perks up. Papa Rabowo here he stepped on stage and he was like, food security is number one for me. You know, everybody across the world is now understanding that, hey, if there's one thing we have to do, we have to make sure food and water gets to our people all the time. And
Mhm.
that's where, if then we bring in these technologies like desert tech or blockchain, Farmsent, it's easier to get past that initial understanding of like, oh well, this is something funky, as long as it actually delivers the results themselves. So
Yes.
to just think about this concept of food security creating the peace deals, how has that never been done before? Like, nobody's ever thought of that before, that like maybe we should just collaborate on feeding each other's kids and then maybe that will create peace. Like, that's mind-blowing to me that nobody's thought about
In principle, it happened before,
it.
but along the way, uh, basically people just change their minds and didn't go through. Um, like in the Middle Ages in Europe, in the early 1900s in South America, Southeast Asia were pioneers in this. The problem is it never saw the light for certain obstacles.
Mhm.
Today we have the technology. Today we have the people. We have the mindsets. This generation is different than ours. And when
Mhm.
I say that, I'm not saying that we're old, but basically we come from a different era where we were born before internet.
Yeah. Trust me, when you get to my
So
age, that's when you will start to really realize how crazy the world is. You young spring chickens are, living in a different world.
so um, blockchain. I was surprised that when my kids started talking about blockchain, and I was like, "What's that?" And they know it by heart,
Mhm.
and they are in middle school and high school. Then I started learning. Why? Because to them that's new. We know about it. We know everything about it. While for us, we have to walk the extra mile to understand and to comprehend and to link the dots. How can we take that and make it a reality? Which is what we're making here today. It's not an easy task, but
Mhm.
making it happen is the real deal. And it's exactly what's the difference between it, the difference between what we're doing today and what was the reason for it not happening before
Mhm.
is technology.
And do you feel like the attitude towards this technology has changed? Because now, especially with Trump coming into power, we're seeing like the attitude towards blockchain and adoption and all this stuff happening. But you have a very internal view. Like, what are you seeing as a shift happening in this space, or the
Frankly
perception
speaking, I
of
was
this
surprised.
technology?
Yes, I
Yeah.
was surprised to see this kind of shift that fast.
Mhm.
I thought it was going to take much longer. We all heard, I mean, just by the inauguration time, I'm talking about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, that crypto is going to be part of the Federal Reserve. That's huge.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's crypto without the blockchain?
Hmm.
And vice versa.
Hmm.
So yes, it is becoming a big part. Maybe Trump is not putting his words in a way where people would understand it. Sometimes he'll go for the higher stake to get as a bargaining chip.
Hmm.
But in reality, I mean, all that aside, in reality, uh, Trump comes from a party, a conservative party, which is the Republican Party, who believe in small government. It's
Hmm.
exactly what we were talking about earlier. They believe in more autopilots, and hence blockchain will come in play. That's why Doge, for example, headed by Musk and Vaswamy, that's what they're trying to do. Bring in the technology to make things easier, to make things run on autopilot, to make things automatic.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what blockchain is about. That's why it is the new trend. It is the next big thing, basically.
For sure, and it's in I think a big misunderstanding is that people take everything President Trump says as like they're like, oh, here we go, he's gonna just cause all this ruckus and all this stuff. Like you said, it's more of it's the art of the deal. People really need to read the art of the deal, and they can understand.
He's a
He'll
businessman, after all. He comes from a business background, not a political background.
Yeah, and he's a genius. Like, I'll be honest,
Yes,
man is a genius. He knows how to like get shit done in the snap of a finger, right? But it's also like, okay,
sure.
people will hear this and they'll imagine, oh, that's what's going to get executed. But actually, the deal gets made in a more reasonable manner because there's a lot of amazing people around like yourself that are making sure the nuances are handled, right? Because it's not like you just completely throw a wrench in the works and get things fixed, but we need this kind of revolutionary type thinking in the world for us to actually get to those solutions. And I think dropping blockchain in the middle of it, especially just being reticent to actually adopt it and be open to the innovation side of it, is something that's huge. But also, like, but one thing I find about the blockchain space is people are so dedicated. Like when you find good missions like Farmsent, there's not anybody on our team who's not just throwing themselves into it, who doesn't just love doing it. And the funny part is, like, I'll talk to Yogi and I'll be like, well, what did you do today? And he's like, oh, I was having a beer with Dr. Ahmed. And I'm like, oh, cool, having fun. And he's like, yeah, we just, and he'll just explain a complicated set of concepts that you guys just hammered through over a beer in the evening while you're sitting there watching a sunset. I'm like, these guys, I know, but it's like these guys never stop working because you love what you do. So it's not like it's
Yes.
a burden upon you. It's something that comes from the kind of heart and soul's mission. So like, I'm gonna ask you a wild card question, and I always ask everybody this question:
Shoot.
what do you burn for? Like, what is it? What is it that burns the fire within you that actually makes you get out of bed?
It's one thing, actually, one thing that set me on my path.
Mm,
I woke up one day, and that was around 15 years ago or more. I can't recall. I
mm,
woke up in the morning and I was like, what if I die? How long will I be remembered for? What have I left behind? What's my legacy? Let's put it that way.
mm,
And that changed my whole perspective because it made me look at the world today and what I want to leave behind for my kids, what I want to be remembered for. What it has part of an ego as well.
mm.
But the most important thing is, was I useful to people? Have I changed anything to be a little bit better, just a little bit better? Was there a poor man somewhere who woke up one day and said, I'm grateful for that person, for whatever it is? Did he find a solution? Did he do something? Did he change anything? And that basically sealed the deal for me. I
I
woke up
love
a
it.
changed man. I just wanted to leave a proper footprint behind.
I love that. I love that. And then that's actually kind of like life's journey, like being
Yes.
I'm just coming out of that young man these mindset of like achievement and gotta do this and da 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 da. And then you get there and you're like, okay, now what? Like,
Exactly. Then what?
yeah, all the money in the world means nothing. All the, titles
Yeah.
mean nothing. It's like there's a quote in Punjabi. I'm getting goosebumps right now, but it says the crowd that will follow me to my funeral will define what I did in my life. And that's what you're
Definitely.
talking about, right? It's like the legacy
Yeah.
of like what did I build and what impact did it create in the generations that I'm going to leave. And I feel like these are the kind of big visions that on one side seem a little scary because you're like, wow, that is 1,000 people have failed and we're gonna try to tackle the same thing, but they're the ones actually worth going on because they're the ones that create that long-term kind of lasting impact. So just to tie into that question, a lot of people are going to watch this and love it. They're on the mission, they want to support, but they don't know how to. Right? Obviously, they aren't sitting in the position that you are or we are to be able to kind of participate. But if you had to speak to that person who genuinely wants to support, genuinely wants to kind of help in any way, can they do anything, or what would you recommend they do to actually be part of it?
What I've learned in life is that everybody can do whatever they want, whenever they want.
Hmm.
But we go back to the question you asked me: what makes it burn? What makes it stick?
Yeah.
What's in it for you? What do you want to achieve? So, based on that, you could find a way to chip in, to help, to achieve. It's all in your hand. So, we're here. We will be meeting, I mean, along with the whole team, less than 2 weeks. uh, it would be nice to have an opportunity to talk, to make new friends, and to discuss this exact point because this is tailor made for every individual. It's different from one another.
Hmm.
Once we understand, we could help. But again, it's the fire. What do you want to do? You want to help one to one? There's a way. You want to provide aid? There's a way. You want to be on the team, on the ground, in the field? You can.
Hmm.
Or as little as getting the currency itself and support the projects that we do. So there are multiple ways.
Yeah, I love it because like people look at us and they think like, oh, these guys. It's easy for you to say it because you're Dr. Ahmed and I'm just Sim, right? But it's like when you think about it, none of us started off in any special place. We were all just
Yep.
people, and it just you try one thing and then you go from there. You're like, okay, this is nice, and I'll try this and I'll try that, and then it step by step gets to that point. The great thing is we have just such amazing people that are actual geniuses in their space, and if you're watching this and you're
Yes.
like I get it. Just to reiterate, whatever you burn for, and that is the thing that your fire itself is what you can use to contribute to the legacy and actually build out all of this stuff. So we are going to get together soon. So where you guys going to hear more from this conversation, but just what does the path forward look like from now? So this framework has been built. Um, what are you seeing developing within, let's say, the next 6 months to a year?
The first thing is, since the concept is ready, now we have to sell it. We have to convince. We have to be convinced in order for us to convince others.
Mm.
Then we should shoot a pilot. We have basically a showcase kind of project. We learn from it. That will have people believe in us more, because nobody will buy a fish in the sea.
Yeah.
You have to catch it, cook it, make it presentable, and show it. Then they'll believe, yes, that fish tastes good. It's a value for money. How do I get it? You have to start fishing. Where? You have to learn fishing. And that's how it goes. It has to look appealing. That's why we have the logo. That's why we have cool people like you. That's why we have podcasts. We are preaching
Yeah.
for the obvious, but we have to make it sellable. We have to make it look appealing. And here we are.
So I don't know if are we allowed to talk about the. I'm not gonna get myself into trouble. There's some amazing things coming down the pipe that both of us are. I think we're not allowed to talk about it yet, but you can kind of infer from this conversation that there are some things in the work. Maybe there is some kind of pilot happening that is going to be the first thing that proves it out. It's going to be my fave. I'm just going to say that to you guys. Beyond that, I don't want to have Yogi yell at me for revealing things a little too early. Right. Um, so, in closing, looking at this entire vision going forward, how like these are big missions, right? And how long do you think it'll take? Because on one side, what I see happening is that the world is going through this revolution, right? In Real Vision, we call it the exponential age. And looking out 60 years from here to the 2030 timeline, it seems like the economy is going to shift. The way that people live is shifting, the way that finance, life, the way, AI is changing the way the brain works. Robotics is changing the way that the productive units work. So kind of keeping that in mind, how long do you think this could potentially take for us to get a kind of a new way of countries relating together, a new way of food creating world peace and that kind of bigger vision, at least to a point where it's like, it has the momentum upon itself that it starts to become a viable way of living?
That all depends on the people. You think in a certain way, I think in another way. If we can't find the common ground where we want to take that point and move from there, it will never happen. And that's exactly why we're talking about people to people. That's why we started the conversation with it, because it's either I look at our differences and I say, no, he's not like me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could say, we might not be the same, but I'm sure there are similarities we could work on, or we could develop at least. Do we want to go to a path of conflict, or do we want to go through a path of peace? Don't come and tell me he started it. Mom, he did it first. Mom, he called me names. And because that's exactly how I see it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Man up. Basically, first thing is to man up, identify your targets, where you want to be, what you want to do, because it's either we talk about issues or we talk about solutions. So to answer your question, to have something of that sort, it's on us as well. We're part of the solution. The pilot would convert minds, hearts, and souls. And that's what we should do. Because once people believe in what we do, they're going to leave differences aside and join the peace team.
Exactly.
Because peace builds. Yeah.
Exactly. But I love that. Man up. To be honest, that is one of the things that we need in the world. Everybody feels like, oh, I'm this like helpless little leaf blowing in the wind. No, everybody
Yeah,
has to pick up their own boots and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out and build all of these different things. And it's step by step. That's how it gets developed. And at the same time, now the opportunity is infinite, right? We have infinite wisdom at our fingertips. We have infinite access. We have so much potential that we can actually actualize. So I know if you're listening to this, you are one of the most likely one of the friends and family or one of the people who's actually on the mission. And you know that, this is everybody has dedicated themselves to picking themselves up, manning up, and going out there and doing this properly. Um, so any final words that you would like to leave to our beautiful listeners, which firstly, thank you listeners and everybody who for your time and energy for being here. But what would you like to tell these amazing souls?
I'll lead on with Madam. Frankly speaking, no, I'm sure if we have listeners from around the world, each come from different society, different background, different situation as well. It might not be easy for some, and it might not be as hard for some. That's the nature of life. But that's not an excuse. I know sometimes situations get so hard, environments get so hostile as well. But how about we think about it this way? Let's consider Farmsent as a club, right? Where we just get together. We're here to help one another. We're here to man up all together at the same time and take responsibility for our own fate. We all believe, I believe myself, that every man is responsible for his own destiny. It's a cliche. I heard it from a kids' movie back in the 90s, but I do believe in it. I do believe in it. We all came from different backgrounds, from different situations. People will look at Sim today and say, oh, yeah, I mean, he's traveling the world. He's cool. It must have been easier for him. Nobody knows. Going deeper into that, none of the prophets of the Lord had it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Every messenger of the Lord came, I mean, any Lord here, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
All of them had it hard. All of them were either burnt alive, outcasted, chased to be killed, put in fire. You name it, it's there.
Yeah.
Yet today, they have lots of believers walking in their path. I'll go to a kind of a lesser kind of an example. Ray Charles
Mm-hmm.
became became blind at a young age. Look at him today. But did anybody believed in him at the beginning? Nobody did. Nobody.
Yeah.
But you know what? He believed in himself, and that's what counts.
Exactly.
And I'll leave you with that thought.
You're literally giving me goosebumps, sir. Like honestly, like it is such a poignant thing that it's never easy, but also in this world, the way that we're doing it is like we're all coming together, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like even speaking to you, and I'm looking forward to hugging you in person because I don't feel like we're in different generations or different places or different whatever. The old world was this thing where it was like everybody was siloed into a certain space. The new world is this, let's go, let's all do this together. Whatever you have to contribute, if it's just your time, if it's just your energy, if it's clicking like on something, if it's just reposting something, if you're an investor, you can invest. If you have talent, you can come along. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the place, doesn't matter what it is. Actually just taking some action towards that future is the only thing that's going to create an impact in the world. And that's why if you are somebody who'd love to participate, please get in touch. Farmsent.io. You can follow us on our socials and let us know how you would like to contribute. This mission is going to require hundreds of thousands of people and probably actually genuinely millions of AI agents working together for us to make this whole thing happen. And we're super excited to meet every single legend one by one. And it's such a pleasure meeting you again. I mean, in a podcast setting. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to us sharing a beer. But if somebody wants to get in touch with you and follow your work, where could they follow your legendary work?
I'm available on social media, most of the platforms known to me.
Yeah.
Of course, by email as well. It's ahmed@kuzai.us. Just search for me. I mean, I'm out there. I would be happy to have a conversation, reply, advise. I'm here.
Amazing. Well, it's been a genuine pleasure, brother. Thank you so much for your time and energy, and
Yeah, thank you
thank you
for having
for
me.
doing God's work genuinely. And I'm looking forward to us continuing this whole mission. And thank you guys all for attending and joining. We will definitely do this again, and next time maybe we'll be able to reveal that little secret. So stay tuned. But appreciate you guys. Much love. See you soon.